we do have a couple of guests. Some of you already met Kelsey John. And for those who came on late, Kelsey, let's give the nickel introduction of yourself and why you're on with us.
Hello again. So my name is Kelsey. I am a graduate of Arcadia High School, class of 2016. I was born and raised in Arcadia. I went to Longley Way, Dana Middle School, and then Arcadia High. I was actually cleaning out, my room the other day, and I found 2 previous plaques from the Rotary Club of Arcadia. I was a 6th grade student of the year at Dana Middle School, and I was one of the student of the month when I was a senior at Arcadia High. So I have a very long history with Arcadia and with the Rotary Club, and I'm really glad to come back again and say hello. So I studied for these past 4 years at Yale, which has been really the experience of a lifetime. I'm a history major there, focusing on US history. And next year, or I guess later this fall in October for the next year, I plan on studying at Oxford for a master's in philosophy and socio-legal studies. And then later on, I want to go to law school. And yeah, I really want to dedicate my career to increasing access to justice, specifically for the unrepresented litigants or people who just simply can't afford legal representation because it's so expensive. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful.
Well, we're grateful to have you here. For those who came late, the board has voted to sponsor Chelsea for a prestigious Rotary Scholarship that would help her with this study, and falls, studies have to fall into one of the core areas of Rotary. All this little bling is really fun, isn't it? And yeah, we're excited to sponsor you, and look hopeful that you will be accepted into this program, and obviously Rotary will help pay for your education. That would be great. So is Lori on? Is Lori? So Lori has a birthday. Mute yourselves, people. Jacqueline, you have a birthday coming up.
Jacqueline went to the bathroom. But I will let her know that you guys said happy birthday.
Do you have any secret plans for her, Jesse?
You know what? Actually, we're gonna stay at home in our cave here and probably just order pizza.
There you go. Yeah. I hear that Zoom birthday parties are really fun. So
we've just been to 2 birthday parties that were drive-by birthday parties. One was somebody that was in the fire department, Neil Conrad, and he had the fire department and people honking horns, and there must have been about 50 people driving by. And another one was a 9-year-old birthday. So people were driving by. They weren't honking horns as much for that one, but it was drive-bys.
Andrews, you have a Rotary anniversary. Are you on, Ashley? I thought I saw you.
Yes.
So this is 2, but you actually, I think, had 2 before. So this is like the 2 times 2, right?
Yeah, 2 times 2, and then Monrovia Rotary for 3 or 4. So it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, good. We're glad to have you back, soon to be president-elect, Ashley Andrews. So congratulations on your 2nd stint with Arcadia Rotary.
Thank you.
Looks like we kept you this time. It's good. All right. No wedding anniversaries. Do we have any member updates? Does anybody have any updates of folks that you've either talked to or heard about that we can update the rest of the membership on?
I did speak with Pat Dolphin yesterday. He was going to try and get on here today. He's still struggling business-wise, but he's got a good spirit, and he got some help with some of the government loan money and stuff like that. So he's cruising along, and he was going to try and get on today, but he just said to say hi to everybody and he's thinking about it.
I talked to John and June Fee, and we dropped a few things off yesterday. Today's a special day. They are doing at Royal Oaks something like the having questions for the newlywed game, but this is for 90 years old and whatever that's in Royal Oaks. So they're doing the newlywed game. So they're going to be taking pictures and guessing some of the things today for the newlywed game, but they're 50 or 60 year anniversaries.
So any chance we can get a video feed on that?
You know what? I didn't ask him about that. That might be an interesting one, wouldn't it? Let me ask.
That could be very interesting.
That could be a whole program.
So do we have any other announcements? Mike Reel, are you on?
Okay, Field of Honor is, we had a meeting earlier this week. We postponed it based on the fact that, one, we can't get into the park at this point in time, and with the whole situation. We have spoken with the park. We're not sure. We're tentatively looking to move it to Labor Day week in terms of the setup. We got an email from the LA County saying that, well, we're not quite sure whether that's still going to work, and we're looking at the possibility of doing a virtual Field of Honor. I spoke with Ryan Hall yesterday, and he and Foothill Federal Credit Union is still on board as our key sponsor, which is phenomenal given the time. So we'll be talking to all of the other sponsors to see where we stand, but that's kind of where we are. We're still kind of in a holding pattern to see if we're actually going to have a physical Field of Honor or whether we're going to move to a virtual one.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else have any other announcements? I mean, there's some of the dates of the upcoming events, but those are quite a ways out. Hearing none, I think we're going to move on and jump right into our featured speaker. Eric P. Johnson is a longtime friend of mine. We used to work with young teens together, running camps up in the San Bernardino Mountains. We worked many years working with kids together. Eric, though, in the middle of all that, he was getting his degree from the University of San Diego as well as his doctorate. I don't know if you also his bio, but he did his postdoctorate fellowship with the Salk Institute for Biological Studies, working on a key protein of the HIV virus. He's done visiting professor at Claremont Colleges, and he worked 15 years at Quest Diagnostics developing testing for infectious diseases. And he's currently a consultant with Bridge Anomics, helping medical laboratories implement new DNA sequencing technologies. And he's been recently appointed to the COVID-19 task force for the American Association of Precision Medicine. Eric is a great guy. I've known him for a long time, but he's been keeping his Facebook feed up and keeping all of us up to date and informed on everything that's been going on from his point of view. And I asked him to come and share it with the rest of us.
Okay, like John said, I've been working in diagnostics for the past 15 years, and so I worked on a test for avian influenza years ago. So I know exactly what it's like to develop the kind of test that they're producing right now, and I've definitely been keeping up with news of the virus as it comes out and trying to study things as much as I can and trying to keep up. It's difficult because things change all the time, but I've been doing my best. So because this is a shorter talk, I'm not going to give a lot of detail on the basics. I'm going to assume that you guys know the basics. I'm just going to kind of start with an update on what's going on right now, and that will kind of trigger questions. And feel free to ask questions about anything during the talk or at the end, including basics. So whatever you want to know is fine. So let me just get started here. So most of you know that coronavirus, the name, it has nothing to do with beer at all. It has to do with the fact that if you look at the virus through an electron microscope, which is the view here on the left, you can see that it has these little envelope proteins that stick out of the virus. It kind of looks like a crown, and corona is both the Spanish and the Latin word for crown. So that's where that name comes from. The official name, of course, what everybody has been calling it is coronavirus. That's actually name of the class of viruses, which includes a few different viruses. The actual name of this virus is SARS-CoV-2. I usually call it SARS-2. The name of the disease is COVID-19. And of course, people scramble these two together all the time. So there's a lot of confusion about what the names are. If you say coronavirus, most people will understand you, even though that's not technically correct. So this is just to kind of show you what the infected versus deaths for pandemics is. Now, this is not a useful graph because it shows the absolute numbers. And with the Spanish flu, we had so many people that had it that this is not useful. So I'm going to show you a logarithmic graph. And if you haven't seen one of these before, the numbers on the left are logarithmic. So for every step, you go up a 10-fold step. So it goes from 10 to 100 to 1,000. So it makes it easier to see a bunch of different numbers on the same page, but it emphasizes smaller numbers. So just so you know that. So you can see that for the annual flu, we have about 45 million people in the US that are infected. Around 61,000 people actually die. For the swine flu, which was in 2009, we had almost 60 million people that were infected and about 12,000 people died. So even though more people were infected, it actually turned out to be not as fatal as the annual flu, even though it caused a lot of stir. And the reason these things cause so much stir when they come out is because when they originally come out, nobody actually knows how deadly it will be or how many people will get it. So part of the reason people are always so excited about these is because no one knows what the actual parameters are. And because nobody knows, we have to kind of assume that it's going to be on the bad end or else we're going to be taken by surprise. So that's why there's always such a big stir. The Spanish flu was in 1918, and that one infected 500 million people worldwide and killed between 20 and 50 million people worldwide, which is obviously a huge number, and it changed world events, and it was a big deal. So for the original SARS, actually, it was pretty deadly, which we'll talk about. Only 8,000 people caught it. MERS, which is another coronavirus, we have little outbreaks of that every year, and about 2,000 people have caught that so far, but not very many. But I'll show you later why that's still significant. So for COVID-19, obviously, as we all know, these numbers for infections are confirmed cases. They're not actual cases because nobody knows what the actual cases are. So the best we can do is show you what the confirmed cases are, and sometimes we can make guesses as to what the actual cases are. But right now, the worldwide number is 2.7 million. 185,000 people have died so far. In China, the official number is 84,000 infected. Most people outside China say that that's not a reliable number, so we all understand that that number is not reliable. So the United States right now is 845,000. I actually can't see some of my stuff on the right because, let's see if I can get rid of this. I just hid your thumbnail so I can see my graphic here, but let me go back one. So I actually won't talk about Italy anymore. They were very newsworthy for a while, but they're not as much anymore. So I won't talk about Italy. So South Korea is interesting because they did very broad testing and they were able to tamp down things right away. So their numbers are probably pretty accurate, and they might be even accurate in terms of actual cases. So they have 11,000 cases total, and they've only had 240 people die. They did a really good job of tamping this thing down early. And if we want to study somebody, it's South Korea.